4.5 billion years ago, our home, planet Earth, was an utterly alien world. Imagine a glowing, raging sea of molten rock stretching to the horizon, a fiery orb under a stormy, toxic sky. There were no blue oceans, no green lands, just an inferno. But even in this chaos, the seeds of our world were being sown. As Earth slowly began to radiate its immense heat into space, a thin, fragile crust started to form on the surface, like skin on cooling pudding. This early surface was anything but stable. It was a battlefield, constantly shattered and reformed by colossal asteroid impacts and violent volcanic eruptions that tore through the fledgling crust. Yet from this relentless turmoil, something incredible, something permanent, was about to rise. Around 4 billion years ago, a monumental shift began to happen deep within the planet. The process of differentiation kicked into high gear. Parts of the Earth's early dense crust started to melt again. This time, however, something new happened. Lighter materials, rich in silica and aluminum, began to separate and float upward, much like cream rising to the top of milk. As this lighter molten rock reached the surface, it cooled and solidified into rocks like granite. These were the very first pieces of true continental crust, the bedrock of our future world. These weren't continents as we know them today, but tiny scattered landmasses, small rocky islands adrift on a sea of darker, denser oceanic crust. Scientists call these ancient landmasses proto-continents. Think of them as the foundation stones, the fundamental building blocks upon which our modern continents would eventually be constructed. It's mind-boggling to think that we can still touch these ancient beginnings. Geologists have unearthed remnants of this primordial land. In Canada, we find the Acasta gneiss, a twisted, beautiful rock formation that clocks in at over 4 billion years old, some of the oldest known rock on the planet. But we can go back even further. In the Jack Hills of Western Australia, scientists discovered tiny, incredibly resilient crystals called zircons. These minerals have been dated to an astonishing 4.4 billion years ago. They are the oldest terrestrial material ever found, tiny time capsules that survived billions of years of geological chaos, telling us that fragments of crust existed even earlier than we once thought, perhaps alongside a very early ocean. These rocks and minerals are our direct physical link to the dawn of our planet's history, silent witnesses to the birth of the first land. So how did we get from these tiny islands to the vast landmasses we live on today? It was a slow, dramatic, and incredibly powerful process that unfolded over billions of years. Plate tectonics, the engine that drives our planet's geology, took hold. These proto-continents, riding on tectonic plates, began to move. Over eons, they collided, merged, and grew. Volcanic activity along their edges added new material, puffing them up from below and along their sides. The immense pressure and heat from collisions folded and uplifted rock, creating the cores of ancient mountain ranges. These small islands were gradually welded together, growing into larger and more stable continental cores known as cratons. These cratons then assembled into the first true supercontinents, vast single landmasses with names that sound like they're from a fantasy novel: Valbara, Canorland, Rodinia, and the most famous of all, Pangaea. The story doesn't end there, of course. The continents are never still. The same forces that brought them together eventually tore them apart. Pangaea began to break up around 200 million years ago, setting the continents on the courses they follow today. And they are still moving. North America and Europe are drifting apart at about the same speed your fingernails grow. Africa is slowly splitting in two. This constant slow-motion dance reshapes the face of our planet every single moment. From a fiery, molten beginning to the formation of tiny rock islands, and from their slow assembly into supercontinents to the world we recognize now. The story of the first continents is the epic story of Earth becoming a habitable home. It is a reminder that the ground beneath our feet has a history more ancient and dramatic than we can possibly imagine. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story of our planet's ancient past as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the history of Earth. We'll see you in the next video.